The morning mist hung low over Crystal Cove, a serene lakeside retreat where the water mirrored the towering cedars. It was a crisp Sunday in April 2024, and I was perched on my dock, my great-uncle's cherished mahogany fishing rod in hand, savoring the stillness. This cabin, a family heirloom since 1982, was my sanctuary. The lake was glassy, the air alive with birdsong, and my tackle box sat neatly beside me, lures meticulously arranged. I was dreaming of grilling a fresh trout for dinner when the sharp crunch of footsteps on my gravel path shattered the calm. Enter Margaret, though I didn't know her name, yet a woman in her late 50s, storming toward me with a lime-green clipboard clutched like a battle axe. Her severe bob haircut and crisp blazer screamed authority, her eyes blazing with righteous fury. She didn't bother with a greeting, just planted herself at the edge of my dock and launched into a tirade. "Sir," she barked, her voice dripping with condescension, per HOA Statute 12C, "this lakefront is for community use only. Remove your belongings and leave immediately." She brandished her clipboard like a court order. I bit back a laugh. Keeping my cool years of dealing with hotheads had taught me that staying composed was the best play. "I appreciate your concern," I said with a polite nod, "but I'm staying put." Her face flushed crimson, clearly unaccustomed to defiance. "We'll see about that," she snapped, waving her clipboard. "I'm the HOA president, and I've done my research. Every inch of this lakefront is under our jurisdiction. You're trespassing, and I'll have you removed by force if I must." As she ranted, my eyes drifted to a weathered envelope on my tackle box, labeled Crystal Cove, critical in my great-uncle's spidery handwriting. It suddenly felt like a loaded gun. Just then, old Walter, a grizzled local who'd lived here for 4 decades, ambled by on his morning walk. Catching my eye, he muttered, "She's picking the wrong fight, kid." Margaret whirled, but Walter just kept strolling, humming a tune. She spun back, misreading his words. "Even your neighbors know you don't belong here," she sneered. I let her ramble, her words dripping with irony as she accused me of squatting on her lake. Standing slowly, I met her gaze. "Ma'am," I said evenly, "I understand you think you're in charge, but you might be missing some key details. This cabin's been ours for decades, and I'm not going anywhere. Since you're so sure of your research, let's review those property records together." I tucked the envelope into my jacket, noting a rusty survey marker half buried in the weeds by the Sharia detail I'd revisit later. Margaret smirked, thinking I was backing down. "Finally coming to your senses," she muttered. "This isn't over," she called as I headed to my cabin. "I'll return with proper documentation, and you'll have no choice." I gave her a nod. "Have a nice day, ma'am," I said, already wondering how deep her research really went. 2 days later, she was back, armed with a thick folder and official-looking notices on embossed letterhead. Slamming a paper onto my tackle box, she announced, "A $3,000 fine for violating community standards, plus a 24-hour eviction notice." The document was impressive, citing bylaws and regulations with flair. "Very thorough," I said, setting it aside. "But I'm having my lawyer review this. I'll send him a certified letter detailing our chat." Her eyes widened, her voice shrill. "Legal intimidation? I've got connections too, and I won't be bullied by a squatter." She paced my dock, fuming as I kept fishing, her frustration mounting with every cast. Then, in a theatrical flourish, she dialed 911, announcing, "I have a trespasser refusing to leave community property, now threatening legal action." She recited my addresser, what she thought was my address painting me as a menace. 15 minutes later, sirens wailed, and 2 patrol cars rolled up. Margaret practically danced with glee, pointing at me. "That's the trespasser illegally occupying our lakefront." The officers, a lanky guy with a buzz cut and a no-nonsense woman with lieutenant bars, approached. "Morning, officers," I said, still fishing. "Lovely day, isn't it?" The buzz-cut cop nodded. "Sir, we've got a trespassing complaint. Can we ask a few questions?" Margaret interjected. "Don't offer them seats. I want him arrested." The lieutenant shot her a look, then turned to me. Your connection to this property? I reached for the envelope, breaking its seal unopened since my great-uncle's death 3 years prior. Inside was the 1982 deed and a note detailing a covenant. This lakefront parcel is exempt from all future HOA agreements, retaining exclusive shoreline rights 60 feet in either direction. I read it aloud, handing the deed to the lieutenant. She cross-checked it with the survey marker, confirming the numbers. Turning to Margaret, she said, "This man owns this property outright. These documents are legitimate. You filed a false report." Margaret's face cycled through shock and rage. "Impossible. The HOA controls the entire lakefront." The buzz-cut cop shook his head. "Grandfathered properties keep their rights, ma'am." The lieutenant added, "Filing false reports is serious. We won't charge you today, but verify your facts next time." As I left, I called, "Thanks for your professionalism, officers." Margaret stood frozen, muttering, "This isn't over." I cast my line again. "Maybe check those records more carefully next time." I thought that would end it, but Margaret doubled down. Over the next week, my fishing lines were cut, soap suds fouled the water, and my trash cans kept wandering. She'd shifted to guerrilla tactics, aiming to make my life hell. Online, she launched a smear campaign via a concerned Cove residents group, painting me as a dangerous recluse polluting the lake. She posted skewed photos of my cabin and fabricated tales of wild parties. Worse, she created fake accounts, including one mimicking Walter, claiming the new guy was a threat. When Walter heard, he was livid, using my name for her lies. What's next? The harassment escalated. Cars blocked my driveway. My mailbox was accidentally toppled, and trash was strewn across my lawn, followed by county complaints. It was death by 1,000 cuts, but I stayed methodical, installing hidden cameras that caught Margaret and her cronies in the act cutting lines, dumping soap, acting like petty vandals. When she presented a petition signed by 15 residents demanding my removal, I knew it was time to act. Dialing my attorney in front of her, I said, "Hey, it's Ethan Cole. Prep the Crystal Cove, files everything we discussed. It's go time." Her bravado faltered, but she scoffed. "More legal threats?" I just smiled. "Just handling business." Margaret called an emergency HOA meeting the following Wednesday at the community hall, framing it as a critical safety discussion about the trespasser. I arrived late, in a sharp suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She was mid-PowerPoint, railing about my antisocial behavior. Spotting me, she pointed, "There's the man terrorizing our community." I took a seat, unfazed. "You have no right to be here," she shrieked. Walter chuckled. "Let him speak, Margaret. This is America." I approached the front, unfolding a detailed survey map. "Margaret's researched the lake's ownership," I said, "but she's missed something big." She shouted, "Don't listen. He's confusing you." But the crowd leaned in as I revealed the map. Most properties, including the hall, were marked blue-owned by Cole Holdings, LLC. "I own the land under this hall, Margaret's house, and 85% of the homes here," I said. The room went silent. "You signed ground leases, not mortgages." Chaos erupted as residents checked their documents, confirming Cole properties. Margaret's face drained of color. "Your lease, Margaret, expires in 16 months, I added. "I'll review renewals based on community harmony." Walter roared with laughter. "Told you she picked the wrong fight." Margaret's downfall was swift. Her social media rants claiming I was a predatory landlord flopped when residents realized their leases were generous. Her past, Walter later shared, revealed a childhood scarred by evictions, fueling her obsession with control. She tried pitching her story to news outlets, but woman harasses her landlord wasn't the scoop she hoped. Her appearance unraveled: unkempt hair, wrinkled clothes, a haunted look. One evening, she staggered to my dock, drunk, slurring, "You think you've won? I'll burn this place down." Walter intervened, warning, "She's dangerous now." At 2 a.m. A week later, my alarms blared. Camera feeds showed Margaret with a gas can, eyeing my great-uncle's rod. I called the sheriff. Within minutes, deputies caught her, gasoline-soaked, before she could act. At her trial, Her insanity plea crumbled against evidence of premeditation. My lawyer's bombshell that I owned Crystal Cove Utilities, subsidizing residents' bills, sent her into a screaming fit. The jury convicted her in 20 minutes. 18 months probation, 250 hours of shoreline cleanup, a restraining order, and counseling. I declined harsh penalties, hoping she'd learn. She spat. This isn't over, but it was. Watching Margaret in her orange vest, cleaning the shore while I fished, was surreal. I waved politely, her fury palpable but impotent. The cove flourished, neighbors relaxed, kids fished, property values soared. Margaret's labor softened her edges. By her sentence's end, she volunteered for cleanups. I thanked her sincerely, and though she never apologized, the lake's peace was restored. As I cast my line into the sunset, I knew my great-uncle would have smiled. Sometimes patience wins. What do you think? Was Ethan too lenient with Margaret, or did his mercy make the victory sweeter? Should she have faced jail time for her arson attempt? Drop your take below, like if you love a good plot twist, and subscribe for more stories where karma steals a show.